What's up, people of the tube? We got another one here today, and I'm going to show you the easiest way to do a blowout on someone with some braids. So let's go. Before I even get started, I'm going to bring up the chart, show you the chart, okay? And I'm going to show you how these things work together. I'm going to start with my skin line, and I'm going to work my way up. Not necessarily in the order of the chart, but it's important that you know the chart, so I'm just going to start there. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to put in my line with the Andis GTX. I'm not going to wipe out the front of his hairline because honestly I want to save a little something to edge that up into. I'm not a big fan of pushing people back in the edge. Try to use what's there. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because when it grows back you're going to wind up looking bad. And he's going to wind up looking bad in 3 days and it's going to be your fault. So let's just keep that in mind and let's not go too crazy. I'm going to go around the edges here. And I'm going to put in the line just to give me some perimeter to get started with. I'm going to come down across and with the grain with this number one. I just want to knock out any dark spots that I see, get that done with, and I'm going to go in with my open taper. I'm going to put my first guideline into it. You can see I got the open taper line going in there, and it's going to start wiping out the Andis line. I'm going to put my half guard and I have it open and I'm going to begin closing it little by little. You're going to start to see some of my guide start to dissipate from the previous cut, and if I have any line in there between where I left my Andis line and my open taper line, I'll go back and take care of that. So right now I'm going to go back with my open taper. I'll start with it open and then I'll gradually close it. See right there, I had it pretty much closed and I'm just cleaning up that last little bit of the line that I put in. We're going to hop around to the back. I'm going to begin the taper in the back, in the nape. I'm going to put my line in nice and even across on both sides. I want to make sure that I'm fading from the same point, from the same starting point on both sides. You really don't want to mess this up too bad. Even though you can fix it later, it just makes the whole process go smoother if you follow your steps. I'm going to define my perimeters in the back and just kind of shape his line out just a little bit. As you can see, he had a pretty nice hairline to begin with, and all I'm doing is just making sure it's nice and even before I begin blending in the back so I can see right where I'm supposed to be working, right where I'm supposed to be staying. So after I've cleaned up all the hair on the neck, we're going to go in the same process that I always use. If you look at the chart, we're going to do it with the open taper to start with. So I'll do it with the open taper. So I'm going to make my first guideline, and you're going to see my Andis guideline start to dissipate. And little by little, I'm going to begin closing the taper, and I'm going to start staying just under where I was with that first initial line. Another tip is as soon as you begin closing the taper, start making an effort to keep the clipper on an angle. And make sure you're holding it flat against the head and that you're using it for all it's worth and that you're getting all the different directional changes and meet those directional changes. Try to stay against the grain and get that distance that the manufacturer set for you to do. So now I have the taper almost all the way closed and that bottom line is completely wiped out. So the next step is I need to wipe out that line above it. But I have a lot of bulk up there in between the braids and that, and I might want to knock some of that bulk down just to get it out of my way before I go in with my open zero guard. So first I'm going to go through with my number one. I have it closed and I just want to wipe out all these dark spots and remove this bulk. I'm going to need to lift these braids up and out of the way with something. So just grab yourself a comb or something to kind of hold it up and out of your way just so that you can work in that area. I just happen to have a rat tail comb handy, not what I usually use. But I just needed to hold it up and get it out of my way. And as you can see, I've got most of those dark spots knocked out. Now I'll go back through my process after I'm done with this last little bit, and I'm going to put my zero guard on, and I'm going to begin with it in the open position. So it's open, and I'm free to go into that length because I did it with a number one close. So an open zero into a number one close is not going to create any lines. We don't have anything to worry about. And just like I did in my open taper section, I'll begin closing this gradually, keeping it on an angle, and trying my best to stay against the grain. And you're gonna see that that line's gonna start to dissipate. It's starting to clean up just nice. And the fade's starting to come out good. Had to make sure that mic was on. That would have been all for nothing. So, alright, I'm going to continue. I'm just using one corner of the blade, and I'm working out any dark spots that I might see. The camera doesn't always catch them. Sometimes I see more. Sometimes you guys see more. You guys keep me honest, alright? But it's looking pretty good. So, I'll shape that in with the razor afterwards, but I'm just going to continue this line. I'm going to go around the ear, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to go down with the grain, across the grain, and against the grain with my number 1. And I could see that from his previous haircut in this area, there was some hair that was left a little bit longer in the previous cut. So I want to make sure that it's all nice and even, and I get it as close to those braids as I can without cutting any of that long hair. You're going to feel a snag when you go when you go against the grain. You're going to feel it kind of snag if you start to hit it. So you don't want to hit it too much. You don't want to leave him with a bunch of long loose hairs in his braid, and then he's going to start losing hair up there. So you don't want to do that. So we'll just do our best to get as close as we can to it, and I will come back probably with some clipper over comb there in the end, and I'll just wipe out any other little dark spots. But that's the best way to get close to a braid without cutting it, is using a little bit of clipper over comb in just those areas, so that you can wipe out those dark spots and everything will be nice. And this is nothing that you haven't already seen. I'm just going to repeat the same process here on this other side, leaving the front hairline alone a little bit, and I'm just taking my Andis GTX and wiping it down to skin. I'm going to go around his ears, define my perimeter that I plan on working in, and we'll begin the process that I always use. There it is. Like LeBron you? Yeah. Because they're so light? I got you. I was like, what the fuck, man? And he was just talking about it. And I'll begin closing that taper down and staying just below where I went. You can see I just closed it right there. And I went all the way down. Now I got my 1 on again, and I'm just cleaning that up a little bit. And I'm going to go at it with my 0 open now. And I'm going to close the 0. Comb the hair a couple different ways, see if you can find any other dark spots, and it's starting to look pretty smooth. In the front, I'm going to do a little bit of a front fade. I need to knock down some of these hairs in the front so that when I do the edge into it, it's real smooth. So the hair can't be like super long in that area. You have to be thoughtful here, and I want to make sure that I don't, I want to make sure that I have a nice length to work that into, get rid of some of those curly hairs in the very front, and then when I go back through with my liners, it's going to come out nice and smooth. If somebody has a issue with their hairline, we need to make sure that we look at that. Okay, so if you look at somebody and their hairline starts and it's really high on one side and really low on the other, don't start on the high side, start on the low side, okay? Because if you start on the high side, by the time you get to the low side, the only thing that you're going to be able to do is cut a lot of hair. And people go a little bit crazy with edge ups. They really want to make them perfect. I totally get it, but at the same time, I would tell you, don't go too deep, don't work too hard at it. You need to make sure that you leave enough hair, because as it starts to grow back, you're going to start to look bad. It's okay if the edge up is not absolutely perfect. It's better to leave the guy with some hair and not have him looking too bad when he goes a couple 3 days and all of a sudden it's growing back. So I'm just stretching the skin, I'm going in with the razor, I'm starting to make it come out pretty good, and it's starting to clean up pretty nice because I knocked down those hairs and I made life easier on myself. So from this point forward in the video, you're not really seeing me do anything new, so I'm gonna go away. I'm gonna let you guys listen to some music. Please, if you guys got any ideas out there and you want me to do a video on it, please tell me. Leave it in the comment section. I really appreciate all the people who've been liking, sharing, subscribing, people who've been commenting. Man, you guys have been great. It's been better than I could have asked for, and I want to keep doing it for as long as I can. Got some other cool videos coming up real soon, and I hope you stay tuned. If you get a chance, hit that little bell. That'll give you a notification so that when I drop new videos, which I'm starting to drop a lot more new videos, that'll keep you up to date and you can see them as they come out. And if you're in this business and you're involved, you're going to want to be here. You're going to want to check this out. So until my next video, you guys are great. High five over the miles, and I'll see you soon.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I did that whole haircut with a black mask on my face from Elegance. Thank you. Look at playing. Be seasick.